we have a change in speakers for one of our sponsors, OCF.
Rob Pryor.
Robert Pryor. Had the name right in here, but then it started thinking about the break again. So welcome, and thank you for taking over.
Thank you very much indeed. And thank you for coming up after your coffee and biscuits. I'm Rob Pryor. I'm the marketing manager at OCF. So you're not going to get a particularly in-depth technical talk this afternoon. You're expecting to hear about maximising efficiencies in HPC environments of today and tomorrow. But what I wanted to do was to, first of all, find out, does anybody here know OCF? Excellent. Hopefully we have a good reputation. The second thing is, I'm going to introduce the company slightly to those who don't know us, but I'm going to talk from a marketing person point of view. I've been with OCF for 9 months now, and I've used computers all of my life. I've not used HPC necessarily. I'm starting to use AI, but lots of the things that I've learned talking about the future, so that efficiencies and the future and what I think from a marketing perspective and from a user perspective will go forward. So I'm going to rattle through these, but OCF, we deal with HPC, we deal with storage cloud, AI machine learning. We've been around for a long time. We're based up in Sheffield. Whether it's a bespoke service that you want or you want us to come in and work with other major vendors, we can do that. We've got 2 decades of experience, and we're very happy to help. Our team continues to grow, and one of the reasons that it continues to grow is that we don't just provide the hardware and then let it be. We're an organisation that has a team of system support people. We have managed services, and whether you happen to be a government department, a UK university, or a large company in industry, we are very happy to be involved with you in a managed service capacity and as a partner in all of this. We're pretty vendor agnostic, so we're talking to the major hardware vendors all the time. And one of the things I think that the universities therefore like about that is they get people who are embedded in their own teams, but also the teams at OCF who've had all of the presentations from the large vendor community. They've listened, they've ascertained what they think is good, they've tried to implement where they feel it is good. And if you come to us, for advice, assistance, quotation, or you're looking for your next HPC cluster and you want to get OCF to be involved, we're taking it from a position where everybody in the vendor market has been listened to, and we will try to put in the right solution for your organisation within the tender and the tender or the framework that you're looking at. Whether it's consultancy, just because you want somebody to phone up at any point in time and say, could you just help us? We've got a problem here. Have you ever seen this before? Could you tell us an example of when you've seen it? What options were out there, and how can you help? Or it's something that you need managing from start to finish, whether that's the installation of a new HPC cluster, or it's something in terms of an upgrade to what you've got already. We've got the Prince2 project managers. Obviously, we do install. We have a whole team going out there and installing. And I said before, one of the things that we're really moving into is the managed service arena. So if you're out there and you have a need for staff within a team and you cannot recruit to a whole person, then obviously OCF has teams of people, whether that happens to be hardware, software, storage. They can sit within your team as part of the managed service, and we're always happy to support. It's not just higher education. I know many people here today from higher education. We deal with a whole range of sectors, and I'm not going to bore you with reading them out. But what I would say is that there are areas, and each area will slightly differ in what we are required to provide for them, whether that happens to be the whole shooting match or whether it's just a particular area of consultancy or a managed service. So I wanted to talk about, from my perspective, as a marketer, how I see HPC. And I was really fascinated to hear Paul's first speech this morning, and about how much money he could save if he did some tweaks within his department. That 1.5 million that he could save and put to more hardware, because that gives him a competitive advantage. And I'm seeing that as the marketing person as I go round to our customers and clients and what they're doing and why they're upgrading and what they're upgrading. They're upgrading their CPUs and GPUs to get the latest. Now, why? What benefits is that bringing to them? Well, a recent university HPC user day, where a university has recently upgraded their cluster from an old to new. They've got genomics, quantum chemists, people all using the system who are all saying, I couldn't do that before 2 years ago or 3 years ago or even 8 months ago. Now they can do things that they couldn't. And I know when we were hearing about Isambard, about the things that are possible, that was really important. But one of the things I also have taken away from this year is about how many people are rushing to have GPUs and how many of their users want the GPUs and these most powerful GPUs and then don't know how to use them or aren't using them in a way that is maximizing the GPU. So university in question, they've got some lovely NVIDIA GPUs. They've decided that what they would do is they would basically allocate them into, not the 32 they bought, into 56. So they've split these L40Ss up. They've created these virtual GPUs, and yet every student or every researcher, when they're given the chance to go for a job, rushes to the most powerful GPU that is available, even though there might be things that are already timed in there. So why are they doing that? I think I'll come on to it in a second, but I think one of the reasons they're coming to it is because they've got things, their job, their research is all consuming. They just need their job doing as fast as possible. And they ascertain in their own mind that the way to do their job as fast as possible is to get the best compute that they can and the best resource out there. And if it seems to be number one, then they'll go for it rather than thinking about which one they really should have. I think that played out at that university in terms of what training was available for people to use the HPC environment. What structured training is there? How do you get onto it? What does it look like? Are you using something like Open on Demand to give a graphical user interface? Does it make it easy for the user? Or are you having to be somebody who's got that techie mind? And I'm a marketer. I love a Mac. I'll happily use a PC, but, if you put me into an environment where I've got a code and I see a terminal or Python or whatever it happened to be, you would lose me within about 15 seconds. It's just not me. But those people who want to do the research and those people who want to use HPC want that ease of use. They're really good at their genomics. They're really fantastic at their quantum chemistry. They just want to be able to use the facility really easily. So train them, which was one of the things that really came out of the interviews that I did, and give them a facility, that looks simplistic to use, and they know, or even if they only need to know 3 things or 4 things to run their jobs, teach them how to do it. It saves time. It saves them using the wrong attributes and so forth. I mean, the other things I put here in terms of storage, just larger volumes, faster read writes. If I'm in the media production industry, and I'm suddenly going to turn away from having just film and having AI created content, I'm going to want to have masses and masses of storage space, theoretically, that I can keep all that film or B-roll or whatever it happens to be, and then to be able to examine that, at whatever time I want. And that's going to therefore determine what storage type I need, and whether it's an on-demand or whether it's archived away. And I'm going to need to get hold of it very quickly, whether I sit in London or I sit in Los Angeles or Toronto or New York or Sydney, making that film and what I'm going to do. That's great in the sort of the world of movies that have got unlimited resources in terms of making the next super blockbuster. But in terms of universities and most organisations, you're limited by your budgets. But you're also limited by the way that government is reacting to you and saying, look, we need you to try and reach net zero by a certain point in time. That reaching net zero or carbon neutrality and being environmentally friendly takes on many guises, as I've learned over the last 9 months. Whether it's big vendors saying, look, our product is much more recyclable, and I heard about that from the lady from Isambard this morning. About 90% of the hardware that is coming in is going to be able to be recycled and reused at the end of its useful life as part of Isambard. But it's also about making sure that where you can, you reduce the environmental impact in terms of energy usage. And again, that comes back to training your users. This university in question is now looking at, as we heard about this morning as well, with the scheduling. When can you schedule a job that doesn't, you can go away? It's not like, I'm going to tell a story here from 10 years ago. Maybe 20 years ago, there was a design agency in Sheffield that set going something called a Mandelbrot pattern for an album cover for a very, very, very big band at the time. They set it going on a Mac at 4 o'clock on a Friday. And it said it would be ready on Monday morning at 9 a.m. The Mac crashed at 7 a.m. that morning, and they never got it to print. Thankfully, computers and HPC clusters are much more resilient these days, so it should be no problem to schedule your job to go overnight. And I would hope that when we bring in lots more scheduling, A, we keep the costs of the energy down, B, we're using it when the transmission network has got that capability, and so forth. But we're also getting lots more, and I see it every day when I see the things that are going out of the door at OCF, the hardware that's going out of the door. It's much more eco-friendly in terms of power usage. It's much better at being able to switch itself on and switch itself off very quickly. And I think we'll see a lot more of that. We heard a lot about cooling from various people, but obviously from Paul this morning in his talk. And one of the people that we've started to work with a little bit is an organisation called Deep Green. I'm sure many of you will have come across Deep Green Energy. They've been in various newspapers. They're sort of one of the darlings of the UK tech energy sector, and they're trying to build data centres that effectively are going to heat local swimming pools and buildings with the excess heat that is produced by the clusters that they are doing. I just really wanted to, I've put all of that up. It's all about, to me, it's all about the user experience. If you give people a better user experience, they'll use it faster. They'll use it more efficiently. They'll get their job done without making mistakes. They'll run their job. They'll be happy with their job first time round rather than keep running it. And I think, in a way, that's the way it's going to go, where we democratize in terms of making it accessible to people to use an HPC for AI or for their data heavy workloads. I just wanted to finish by saying that although I'm not Lee and I couldn't talk to you about Slurm and everything technical that he might have talked about, I'd like to say if anybody here is from a UK academic institution, a higher education institution, and you'd like to join us on the 26th of November, which is after Supercomputing Atlanta, we will be down at the London Institute for Healthcare Engineering opposite the House of Commons. We're going to be doing a day there where NVIDIA, one of the people will come and talk about, Steve Davey will come and talk about hardware and their GPUs and their NIMs and everything else related to that product line. But then we have one of their evangelists, a lady called Rita Neves, and she'll be talking about AI for STEM. So anybody, if you're from a UK higher education institution and you're the person who's providing HPC or AI to those who are doing STEM work, please, it's a day that you can come along and enjoy. Places are very, very limited. If you happen to be going to Atlanta, and you're lucky enough to be going to Atlanta, please do reach out. We're running a trolley tour on the Sunday and a dinner on the Sunday evening. If you're still around and not doing something at the conference, I'm very aware that lots of people will have hit the conference by Sunday evening. But if you'd like to go on the bus tour of Atlanta in the afternoon, you're very welcome. And we'll see you as well for things like Dirac in Cardiff and CI UK, where there will be lots and lots of technical people. So our technical director, Lawrence, will be there. People like Matt, people like John who deals with the storage. And you won't have to listen to me, the marketing person, wax lyrical about things that I know nothing about. Thank you.